You guys, it's Amy. I'm back with Made for More with Amy K. Hauser, doing a mirror word chat today. And you guys, I have my friend Gideon Yoder on from the Mirror Word Bible Study. You want to say hey?
Hi, friends, family, Mirror Word Bible Study, fellow Mirrorites.
Yes. It's
Good
so,
to be here.
it is so good to have you here, Gideon. Gideon, tell us where you're at. Where are you phoning in from today?
I am at home. My home is Wahpeton, North Dakota.
Wahpeton. How do we know that name, Wahpeton?
Maybe Pat and Pam got a connection to that. We're in
Okay.
the Pat still lives here. Pam moved out to Virginia, so yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Living separate lives
Pat,
for a season.
yeah.
So for
Two
those
weeks
that,
on, 2 weeks apart. Yeah,
yeah, they can do it. We can do anything we need to do for a season, right?
exactly.
Um, so Pat and Pam, for those that might be new listening, are the folks that head up, facilitate, lead, guide, come up underneath everybody, and they take us on a great journey with the Mirror Word Bible Study on Wednesday nights at, for me, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And that's every Wednesday. And if you're not on that and you want to learn more, send a comment and we can get you hooked up to receive those emails and get that link. Right now, we're going through Second Corinthians in the Mirror Word. And I was reading some this morning and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is such a loaded, wonderful letter that Paul sent to his people. And I feel like we get to tune in and glean and learn from their experiences. And then we get to, more importantly, experience some of this stuff for ourselves, y'all. That's where
Yeah.
that's where the juicy center is in all of this, is our experience in our life walking with him, right, Gideon?
Yeah, as we go through these Bible studies, the readings and the verses, all of a sudden it becomes alive in us. It's a living message in us that is resonates with us, and the expression, we're living expressions of what Paul is writing about in these letters to the Corinthians.
It's
So
it's life changing, you know?
yeah,
And so for those that are going, I don't know much about the mirror or what you're talking about, it's like get a copy, grab the app, because it literally just brings the scriptures you've been reading maybe for many years, maybe you're new to it, maybe you've been doing it your whole life, and it brings a whole new life to this. And it brings the truth that your heart, that resonance within that says, oh, this is what I've longed to know as true. And it is
yeah,
true because we had that inner knowing. But yeah, okay, so I got on a little tangent right off the bat on that, on the mirror stuff. But so Gideon, yeah, this is a time where we get to just chat. Whether you grab a coffee, I'm already past, I didn't do coffee. I did my Aptogen
mm,
coffees today, and then I'm doing a mineral water already. But I got me a little something something to drink, and we're gonna just find out a little bit about Gideon Yoder. So I have to tell you guys like how I got to know Gideon. So first was on the mirror because I've been on there for about 3 years now, and then we had the opportunity to do Destin, right?
yeah. We met in Destin
In
in
October.
person. Yeah, I knew you through the mirror on Wednesday night Zoom calls, but
Yep.
in person is a treat.
It's such a treat, you guys. This
Yeah,
guy literally, like, you see that smile, it never really leaves. It never really leaves your face, Gideon. It's amazing. You're just a radiating, mirroring Christ in you like all the time. Like that's who you are.
that's who we radiate.
That is.
Yeah, 10, 12 years ago, you would have probably said a different story, but
Well,
I've learned, I learned to become to know my true self, and made some made huge impact on my life.
oh wow.
That
Well, let's just right there. Like tell us a little bit about that. Like tell us what was who was Gideon 10, 12 years ago? We're going right in.
I was a in I grew up Amish, so I was in an Amish religion and very legalistic, and I Friends with Jesse Schwarzentrooper, and
Who was also
actually,
interviewed here, by the way. And you
you're
can find
right.
his
Yeah,
interview on here too and his story.
yeah, he has an amazing story. And so we grew up in the same neighborhood. I knew him all my life. And when 14 years ago, I think it was, no, 12 years ago, I started knowing Jesus for the first time. I met Jesus for the first time and who he is and what he has done for me. And then I was, it started getting me to the point where I wanted to leave the Amish religion
Oh
to
my.
be free. And my parents were like, I'm deceived to want that.
Let
If
me ask
that's
you a question about that, Gideon. When you said I met Jesus for the first time, so like how? How did you meet Jesus for the first time? As you're in the Amish faith, you're in the practice. What kind of thing? Can you tell us about that?
for me, it was kind of by myself. I saw and heard some stuff that was going on in the church, and I that I wasn't supposed to know at the time. And then I seen what was around Jesse enough. He kind of rubbed off on me a little bit, and had before that I was drinking and partying and alcohol and whatever I wanted, and I got tired of having hangovers every Monday morning. Going to work was a hangover, so I got found was talking to Jesse and stuff and hanging around him a bit, and he was he actually showed me a different life. He never really talked about it, but being around him was enough to know there's something more out there, and
Oh,
I started getting hungry for more of that.
so good.
So it's kind of my own. I kind of came to that conclusion by myself. Nobody really needed to tell me or lead me to it. In a way, Jesse was my leading me to it before I really realized it. Not so much in telling me, but just in the way he lives, the way he was living at the time, and the expressions. And his brother Moses too. Moses had a huge part of it too. It's we I was working for Moses at the time, and which Moses is on this Bible study some too. He's not here regularly, but part of the time he is. So he had a huge part of it too, just the way he treated me, and I've never been treated like that in the Amish before. So as a boss, he was the best boss I ever had at the time, and
Mm.
being kind to people and loving them where they're at, and so that process, it kind of changed my whole point of view on life.
Mm.
Was that there's something more out there, and all of a sudden that I just got hungry for more of it, and I felt like it's the right thing to do, but then I also wanted to go back. I also wanted to honor my parents, and I was kind of trapped in that state where I still thought, well, I have to do something to please God. Didn't realize how that He's already pleased with me before I even did anything. So I was still in that performance mindset where I got to perform certain ways.
Mhm.
So that's probably I after that I that's probably where I started to listen to my parents more, and they told me, well, if I want to leave the Amish community, I'm deceived because that's not from God. That being from if it's something that makes me want to disobey my parents, it's not from God. And I was didn't realize at the time that what I was experiencing at the time would actually lead me to leave the community. I thought, well, I can do both. And I became to find out that I can't that I can't do legalism and still be this free. So that experience, that hunger in me for more, ended up dying off after 2 years of that, I decided to leave the Amish community. And that's where I met Pat and Pam after I left.
Oh my gosh. Gideon, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
Um, I knew that you had, that you had left, just, but not knowing. And there's something so powerful in connection and just hearing how God shows up. in ways that we aren't expecting. A few
Yeah,
things from what I'm hearing you say, which I think are really important. Like Jesse didn't have to do anything other than be what he knew he was,
yeah,
which had an impact. It's so that frequency of love and acceptance and inclusion that he felt automatically pulled you into its field, if you will.
it did. Yeah,
Because I'm
yeah,
using that like from an frequency energy because people are really getting into quantum physics and a lot of those things and understanding and how do we balance this understanding of who God is and this science. And it's like, to me, well, he's the creator of all things, and everything that's good obviously is from him, and so he gives us ways of understanding some of the things that he does more, and if people need it in a scientific way, if people need it in an artistic way, if they need that in a spiritual, way, we get to pull that in the truth and see into the way that our mind is wired to understand. And then, in that revelation, he's wrapped all up in that revelation, however that comes.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you are a living example of that. Like, you're just around Moses and Jesse, and something inside starts to open up, and God's like, this is who I am. And it's mirrored in your friends right now. I'm mirrored, but you're mirrored. And you're going to learn and see this in a way that touches your heart uniquely.
That reflection, yeah. It it was like an attractive there that at the time I didn't really understand what was actually going on. I couldn't, but it was I wanted more of it, and that's without them really doing anything but being who they are.
Yes.
So that resonated within me, that living message of who we really are.
Wow. And so, like you said, you mentioned more several times, which is the name of my ministry, Made for More.
You're right.
And
True.
but that's that thing. So, I mean, that was a name that came to me from God in some quiet time,
Yeah.
almost 20 years ago first. And it's just evolved in different things that I've done and used and how he's used that. But that more at first, like, felt like it had, people kind of be like, well, made for more, like, that sounds prosperity-ish. That sounds like I want more. I need more house, more car, more life, or, whatever. And it's like, that's not the more. Like, but that's the more to the world first, right? Or
Yes.
religion, or whatever you want to say. And then that there's just layers of what more becomes revealed. And then more becomes, it's going to be an unending more of unfolding. So like, I'm here, like, there was more that you wanted back then, but there's so much more probably today. And there's more and there's more.
Yeah, and that more isn't necessarily a bigger house or a fancier car. It's more of this intimate relationship and life that I'm experiencing.
Yes. And I think
That's the
that's
more.
just, and that more is going to keep revealing itself as we walk in that interconnectedness, that indwelling presence, that perichoresis dance of the Trinity
Yeah.
in life.
It's,
Oh my gosh.
it's,
So good. And
this
so,
is awesome.
yeah, so okay, so Gideon, so wow, and then I love what, I can't imagine. You hear your parents say it can't be from God if he's asking you to go in opposition to your parents. Because
Right.
you're applying a law of Ten Commandments, right? Honor your
Yeah. All
father
that.
and mother. And then you can even go into Proverbs, has a whole section, on what that is, what that looks like, um,
Right.
interpreted through man's lens. And yet you were like, knowing, no, there's so much more. I can't ignore this. So tell
Yeah,
us, yeah, so how did that kind of play out as you were like, okay, I love you, but this is what I'm doing? How'd that go?
in the beginning, I thought I'm crazy, and I was like, well, can I really do this? And so I, Pat and Pam had a huge part in it after I left, because I was immediately introduced to the Mirror Bible at the time. That was 10 years ago.
Okay.
And I was immediately introduced to the Mirror Bible. And this is my introduction to Pat and Pam's. The first time I ever met them, I walk into their house and they got a disco ball going with Christian rave music blasting. Was a
I
house
am
full
crazy.
of
I'm crazy. They're crazy.
was a house full of young college kids coming down from Fargo to just enjoy and celebrate the Lord. And so that was my introduction. I thought, well, at least if I really made a mistake here, I'm gonna enjoy it.
Okay.
This looks like a party. So in the beginning was Pat and Pam, Pat teaching and stuff, and well, I was like, this can't be true. The mirror Bible is so foreign to what I've ever been taught. It's like this can't be true.
Yeah.
That it's this easy to that I don't have to perform, but the experience inside told me otherwise.
Mm.
It was this. It's almost like it's hard to put into words. The knowing that it's like this is resonating in me. It makes me feel so free and good that I can't deny that. So I kept coming back, and eventually I was like, yes, this is the truth about who we are. That we are recreated in Christ, and we're pure and holy without any of our help or performance to do it on our by ourselves. We can't possibly help God out with what He's already created in us, who we are. So I came to that conclusion. Took me a while, was in the beginning, but when I all of a sudden it started getting hold of, and I was like, this is the truth. And after that, I was completely set free from ever thinking about, oh, I have to obey my parents or all the commandments and stuff as that I was taught growing up. I was completely set free from all that. And when I first left, I felt like it. I still, I felt kind of guilty about leaving in a way, but after being introduced to this message, all that disappeared, and I was set free, and it was the best decision I've ever made in my life.
Unbelievable. Not unbelievable, but amazing. I love it.
Yeah,
Wow, these are these kind of stories, and it's like, and it sounds like effortless. See, you don't talk anything. I went and did this. I attended Bible study. I went and I did, right? You were literally set free from the law. The severing took place.
yes, that a big part of it when I walked into Pat and Pam's house for the first time, their embrace, their inclusion, I immediately felt like I belonged.
Yeah.
It's like it's no longer they took me in like I'm one of their own kids, and that's what I see happening over and over in this Mirror Bible Study group.
Yeah.
Just gathering in them in like a big family. We
Yeah.
become one big family.
Well, it's like when people are hearing the same message and letting go of the old paradigms and
Yeah,
not being, nobody's forcing you to speed it up. What one person might get instantly, you know, for me, it took, I mean, it's still unfolding in different areas. I keep seeing as there's been major life changes in the last couple of years, areas where I thought I understood something that I didn't. And um, what to me, what you're explaining, Gideon, I'm hearing at first we have these thoughts because we have all kinds of preconceived notions around things that we hold on to, what meaning that we make of something. So here's what I'm hearing, here's the meaning I'm making of it based out of my old construct.
Yes.
But what you say, and this comes up in several of these recordings, it's that knowing, right? That inner knowing, that gnosko, that knowing that this connects. That is what changed me, and it will never turn me away because I
Yes.
remember the first time reading these words, and I was kind of like, this chapter doesn't sound like the chapter I know in other versions. But I could see the similarities. I go back, I read, I get context or whatever, and then I'm reading this, and I'm like, everything, it just ignites inside, comes alive. The tears come, the connection, something like going, no, this is who I am. And that has been silenced by so many things in my life.
Yeah. Same here. It was the same here. Yeah.
And it doesn't, he's no respecter of age, background, whatever. It's when it's time for you to waken to this, not our timing. But I do, like, some people might be like, well, I hear, gosh, the repetition of the scripture over and over, there's so much redundancy. I believe we need it. I need that redundancy for a time. I've needed to hear it over and over, and that's not to reprogram my mind, but it's I don't know, I just feel like this is important to say. It's creating new neural pathways of inclusion that allow me to experience him fully.
Yes.
Because if when I go in to certain experiences, or am hearing or listening for the voice of God, but I hear an old voice that says, I'm not, I have to earn, I have to do, I'm shameful, I'm sinful, I'm these things, then I don't come before the throne in the confidence that my brain says I should, because I hear both. I hear the two talking heads going, and then so it literally filters out my receptivity because I don't feel okay with me. And this has shifted that when I read it, and yes, I see it, and oh, well, maybe in the commentary I see that same word come up and I'm reading it again. I can either get irritated or I can be like, thank you. Do I need to read that now? Spirit will guide me if I need it or not. So as experiences keep happening in my life, then I get to come and go, oh my gosh, I'm confident before the throne. This is who I am. I am mirrored in Christ. And that for me and my past experiences took a lot to deshackle shame
Yeah.
and break those things off of me. But now, and I know there's still more. That's where more comes back. There's still more he's going to show me about how incredible I am and for my heart, because I can't even hear certain areas of that yet. But I could hear more than I could, and I experienced the love of Christ, gaze into his eyes, and that's where the real change comes. The Bible is, this written word is like that uh, conduit or to
It,
who he is in me, I don't know.
yes.
So I get so
It
excited.
reminds of it's there. It reminds of who we are, but and it's pointing to Jesus, but it's awakening that Jesus is all about us.
Yes.
We are what He is all about. So I like how whether you go in whatever book you go to, the Corinthians, Colossians, Roman, they all point to the same thing. They're all confirming our in Christness,
Mhm.
co-inclusion,
From the
that
beginning of
it's
time.
we're all included in this, and it's resonating in here, confirming that this is who we are.
Yes. And then that's what shifted, what I'm hearing you say, Gideon, like that is what shifted your heart about making the break, whatever you want to call it, into freedom. Um, and it takes us like to walk away from all you've known, whether
Yeah,
that's family, that's the community, that's your work, your future inheritance that man created. to say, this is the treasure that's been found in a field, and you went and
Privilege.
bought that whole field because of what you have found.
Yes. This it is like a treasure, that hidden pearl inside, that when we discover it, and then we discover it's been there all along.
It's
We
so,
didn't put it there. We
you
didn't
earn
do
it.
anything. We didn't earn it. There's no reward for it. It's just, God is so good. He wants to give us the best life possible. So he did it all for us.
Hid himself in the most unlikely place to be found,
Yeah.
but yet found. And that's part of what we get to do is, like Jesse did. He helped you find, without knowing that he helped you find what was buried within all along.
Yeah, that resonation that goes from one person to the next. One person walking in the truth reflects and radiates off to the next people
Eff-
without even trying.
Effortless ease.
So effortless, yeah. And Jesse was that for me, but absolutely was. Jesse and Moses both.
Oh, yeah. So, Gideon, what are some of the things like, so since this freedom, 10 years ago that's began, what are some of the things you found out about Gideon that you didn't know in terms of who he is? Like, and I don't mean like, anything. You can answer that however you think you want to.
I'm not sure that the I discovered I'm capable of way more than I thought I was. That there is no limits. We can go, we can reach one level, then there's just so much more up to unveil yet, to learn. That just keep an open mind and an open heart about it all. Just
Yeah.
never allow yourself to close that up, because this life is an adventure, and we're never done learning about it. So we're gonna I found out that I'm open to so much more than I was before. Before, when I would go and I'd hear something, and I would, if it didn't sound to my interpretation of what is truth, I would shut it off immediately. I wouldn't even consider it further. Now I'm open to like, wait a minute here, what can I learn from this?
That's so good.
And that openness, it just unveils, and it brings life out of every situation. And now I can go outside and look at the flowers or nature, and I think that's what the being open with that it opened up something in me that brings forth life. And then there's the joy. That joy is a constant companion.
Enjoy hits you sometimes, really hits you.
Joy is a constant companion.
Uh,
It's like, um, there's things that can happen in life, and but there's an inner joy that just never goes away.
she's right there with you all the
Yes,
tickling you, making you laugh.
it's in all of us. I'm
Yes.
fully convinced of that
Hmm.
it's in everybody.
Welcome it, right?
Yes.
Welcome, acknowledge. I mean, like you've got medals behind you right now. Is that something that, tell us a little bit how running and all of this life works, co-creates, how you co-create with your fitness and all those things.
Well, I got into running about 4 years 4 years ago. I started running, and I went to now when I get a little stressed out or something, or even just wake up in the morning and go for a run, it's like this energizing time. And I just go out and I run and I just have fun. I'm free, and it's not something that feels like a duty. It's just something that I enjoy doing, so that I do more and more of it. And the races I've ran, the people, well, that guy's in Christ. We're running together. It's this whole group that's running together, and whatever we might encounter, we might meet people on there that talking about their life story and stuff, and then we share a little bit about journeys together and what life is happening to each other, and that moment of it opens up opens me up for being with groups of people that I can talk to, and we have things in common, and it radiates from one person to the next. I don't know how much I impact them, but it's like, yeah, I might be impacting them the same way Jesse impacted me, just by being there and talking with them and being a friend.
Oh, for sure. I'm sure that you are. It's, yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah.
like, I've heard you talk about it. You're running a little bit, and I think about what was it? Chariots of Fire, the main guy who in Chariots of Fire, um, and he talked about how somebody asked him why he runs or why, how he does what he does, and he's like, when I run, I just feel God smiling. Like because it's like he was made to run. He was just made to run, and so he feels that smile.
it,
It's like when we get to do what we love to do, it is
yeah,
effortless way of just
that's
communicating his all of creation, and the beauty and the uniqueness and the multifaceted diamonds that we are, and
yeah,
prisms of his love.
that, and it is the running part for me is part of that is when I get stressed out or I need a break from something, I go run, and that's what that does to me too. Is I clear my mind up from all that's going on around me, and it gives me the opportunity to take another breath and hit the pause button from everything around me and escape within.
Super good. And you were just talking about that from Corinthians 4, that
Yeah,
inner sanctuary, right? That
yeah,
escape room, as you said.
our holy ground.
hmm Coming on inward.
That
Yeah.
inner sanctuary that is always the safe place for me now. And I didn't realize it was there for the longest time. And then I got introduced to it again 10 years ago, where I was like, yeah, this is a good place to be. I carry that with me everywhere I go. I don't have to be it's like this safe fortress
Mm,
that I just know it's nothing can bother me, nothing can hurt me there.
yeah.
That everything around in that's going on in life, I'm safe here.
And who doesn't want that, right?
Yeah.
Who doesn't want a place to escape? You talked about the drinking and the hangovers, and whether it's that drinking, drugging, uh,
Mm-hmm.
people now are so often escaping to online things that are not healthy for their mind or their bodies, thinking it's an escape or something. Um, Food, gosh, we can think of countless things, right? That we all pick up. And for so many years, we're, taught how to change that behavior.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's the behavior that's the problem.
No, it's not. We're feeding from the wrong source. That's
Yeah,
such a good point, because
yeah.
the more we feed from that type of source, the more we want it, and the less it doesn't do anything for us. It
No,
might be a temporary fix at the time, but
yeah, For sure.
As soon as it wears off, we're back right where we started from.
Yeah. And then that shame cycle in the brain takes on a loop that says, I feel awful, I need to do it again. So rather than what you were talking about, that inner sanctuary that's there in
Yeah,
everybody, it is there, that place of safety of being held, just where solutions come without having to seek them, as we just seek his embrace and his gaze. And we're in that place, and there's that healing, that satisfaction that comes versus that cycle. And then we get in the behavior, which there are things we do need to learn. I'm not saying behavior modification or things aren't important, and but we're calling that thing sin, which that thing actually is a behavior that comes from lost identity, right?
yeah,
The harmony, the whole blueprint design that got pushed aside. We don't remember who we are. Therefore, we try to get, if we don't think we have what we need, we'll do something to get it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And touching on that, the whole deal with sin, when I heard the real definition of what sin is, that lost identity, it's not the behaviors.
Right.
Behaviors are just fruits of it.
Right.
We bear what we believe about ourselves. So
Yeah.
those fruits that's gonna show up, and that's not the. So sin is not behaviors. It's
No.
just a distorted identity that we believe about ourselves. And this this place that I found, the true gospel, the truth about us, is that we are already in Christ, and that when we realize that, we start to believe what God believes about us. All these other things disappear. All these other issues disappear. And we just gaze into who we are, and now that we see who we are, we the all the behaviors, our nature changes. Behaviors change. We don't want to do those things anymore.
Right.
Like I started tasting a joy in life, and that's what got my attention when I was drinking and having all these hangovers, where I discovered there's something more to life than all that, and feeling crappy about myself. So I started tasting this joy in life, and that when I went when I went back to legalism, legalism shut that down. So I didn't experience it anymore. And I was at the point where I really didn't. I knew I needed a change. I wasn't sure what it was gonna be. I figured, well, I can't I can't be any worse off than what I am already if I leave the Amish. So I left that, and that's where I could think for myself again, and things started to clear up.
Wow. This is going to be so encouraging to other people because we can plug in Amish, we can plug in alcohol, we can plug in sex, we can plug in striving after fame, fortune, whatever the thing. And then that invitation of like, well, wait, what is it like to stop plucking and hiding bad fruit
Yeah,
off of a tree that keeps producing it versus eating from the tree of life, right? Let's not even like compare the tree of life. What we need, well, what we need is that tree of life, not keep going back to what that tree of knowledge of good and evil, you know,
yeah,
wrong tree that says that's good, that's bad, change that behavior, change that thing, just know who you are. And then
yeah,
that naturally starts to shift those things, that desire for you to go, I don't have to keep going back to law to find life. I don't have to do those things. I don't have to call things good or bad. And I've so much of that in my life too, whether it's drinking, whether it's shopping, whether it's chasing, controlling things, whether
whatever we're chasing, yeah,
at different seasons, different things, and
That
allowing the old to be gone and the new to be here.
embracing the new, embracing the real us. That takes at at first to trust in the new, that this is really true. It took me a while to have that confidence, that to know that, all right, I'm not going to hell because I'm believing. I'm not deceived because I'm experiencing this, and this is bringing more life than the
Yeah.
old stuff. The old tree I was eating from. It took me a while to actually fully trust that, embrace, and to embrace it and live from that perspective. Now it's then awakening to the fact that this is actually what God believes about me,
You're right.
despite
I
all the crazy things I've done.
That's so true. Like, so for me, what you just said, when, and it really hasn't for me been all that long to realize that I can trust inside. I can trust Christ in me. You're not going to make the same stupid mistakes you've made before.
Yeah,
This is it. He's got you. You don't have to do it. You don't have to make sure all the time. This is who you are. Walk
yeah,
that way. Walk in that. I can trust the decisions that I make. Even if sometimes they're not always the right decisions, that's still okay. Ah,
yeah.
so much freedom in that. So
It's
much freedom
okay.
in that. Because I like
God doesn't
yesterday
change
made
his
a pretty
mind.
big mistake yesterday, just yesterday. And I'm like, oh well, gotta, that's okay.
God doesn't change his mind about it.
No.
Who you are. Yeah.
You can
And
look in
that
the mirror,
discovery is
right? We can look in the mirror and go, oh well, let's do better today or do different. It's okay.
just reminding ourselves, yes, this is what God says about it, and this is who I am, and that reminder is enough.
Yeah. Because you know what? It literally shifts. So, like little things, like for me, when I do something not super wise, like that would be a reason for me that evening to have a glass of wine or something. Like I just want to
Mm-hmm.
I want to stop thinking about that mistake. And that's very subconscious. Okay.
Yeah.
Like but that would be likely. But as I made the choice to look in the mirror and go, whatever, and I felt that leave, I didn't make that choice. And it didn't even come up in my mind. And I'm not saying having a glass of wine's a bad thing. It's if it's out of the wrong reason.
Yeah, to escape
Right. Yeah.
something in our
To kind of
minds.
shut the mind down and go, I don't want to think badly about myself. I can't afford to today. And he's like, you're right, you can't. I already took that on. I already took it. I went into the grave, assumed all your shame, all of your mistakes, all of your really big mistakes, as well as your little ones like yesterday, because you still beat yourself up the same, whether it's large or small. And he took
And
that.
now we experience this in the very same body we used to do all these crazy things with. And we didn't have to change bodies to experience God.
No, no.
The treasure is within us.
We had to give it space,
Yes.
give it honoring what is there, agreeing with what God believes to be true about us. So good.
Yeah.
Gideon, this
I'll
is
just,
awesome.
I
Any
think
other
it's
thoughts on that?
Roman,
Yeah, tell me what you were about to say.
and I think it's Romans 3 somewhere. It talks about how does our unbelief change what God believes about us. Truth still remains true. Unbelief doesn't change what God believes about us. Our actions don't change whatever we believe about ourselves. God still believes the truth.
So good. I love it. There's so much freedom, and more are stepping in, and we just get to do like Jesse and Moses. We just get to live our lives in love out of the overflow and abundance of what we're left with and have
And we, yeah, and now we know that we don't have to go knocking on people's doors to win them over for Christ.
Thank
We
goodness.
are we are living expressions, and that naturally overflows to other people.
And that's going to overflow to people who like to do breath work and somatic body movement or yoga, or
Mm-hmm.
that love running or love how you literally light up the world with your work.
Yeah,
Those things, or gardening, nature, talking, cooking, whatever. Everyone gets to experience it uniquely. So,
and God is in all these different things. He's not whatever we're doing, working on, gardening, cooking, building a house, whatever it is, doing plumbing work, it's electrical work.
so,
God is in every one of those things.
so sweet.
Yeah,
I love, you know what? I got the coolest job. I mean, it just pays me in love kisses from people, but to talk to people and hear more and just have these connections. I so love to do this. And like you just sharing a bit more about your journey, how this impacts your daily life, you know, doesn't mean it's always been, a bed of roses.
exactly. Yeah, I've had my ups and downs,
Yeah, for sure.
and
Sure.
I still
Yeah.
do, and I still do.
Hmm.
But I know the truth. So something might come up at work, and I'm like, oh crap, whatever. I I don't want to do that, but I have to, and I might say a few things that aren't aren't out of my true nature.
And he
but,
and he's
but then
laughing
like,
at you. He's
but he
laughing, going,
starts laughing at me. Exactly.
he's like, there goes Gideon doing his thing. I get that a lot. I get, but it brings us back. Like we come back to the reality of who we are so much faster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I'll tell you, because Brian and I, because he's in Georgia and I'm in Texas, we're on Marco Polo or FaceTime or whatever a lot. And like I had a meltdown yesterday and I'm like, crying on this and that, upset about something. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
shalom, shalom, baby. Hope you come back soon.
This is not you.
Yeah, he's,
Yeah.
but it's like this is life on life's terms here sometimes on this earth, and we're navigating it, but there's
Yeah.
a heck of a lot more humor when things don't go the way we want.
Oh, God's got a good sense of humor.
Oh, thank goodness.
I love it.
Me too.
We take ourselves way too serious.
Oh, oh my gosh. Yeah, he's just like, if you could see what I see, you would be laughing and rolling in the flowers right now, Amy, but you're not. You can.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Well, Gideon, this has been a blast. I love just getting a chance to hang out with you and get to share you with the rest of the world.
Well, thank you. Thank you for getting this set up and everything and asking me. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Glad we got to do it, and somebody should interview you sometime.
I think Jesse said the same. Maybe you guys. Yeah, that would be fun.
You got a really good attorney too. Well, we hear
Oh,
bits and pieces of it.
yeah,
Every
same.
time
Yeah,
you interview somebody.
it's a crazy one, but it's a good one. They're all so unique to our own journey. That's what I love about life, you know, our unique fingerprints for sure. Well, you guys, thanks for tuning in today and hanging out with me and Gideon. And if anything on here, it really, somebody came to your mind, go to the YouTube channel at Amy, the initial K, Hauser, and share that with them. And go ahead and like and subscribe to the station, and more kinds of videos are going to be coming out in the future. Thanks for hanging. Bye bye, y'all.